The conversation around the American League East is already heating up, and if there's one thing that stands out right now, it's just how wide open this division feels heading into the 2026 season. Every year we talk about competitiveness, but this time it feels different, like there's a real possibility of multiple teams pushing deep into October, not just fighting for survival, but actually positioning themselves as true contenders. And when you start breaking it all down, you quickly realize this might be the most unpredictable division in all of baseball right now. One thing that seems almost unanimous, though, is the situation involving Tampa Bay. It's tough to say it, especially considering how often they've surprised people in the past, but expectations are clearly lower this time around. Even with their reputation for finding hidden value and squeezing production out of unlikely players, there's a growing sense that this season might be more about staying competitive than actually chasing a playoff spot. That doesn't mean they won't be annoying to play against, because they always are, but over the course of a full season, it's hard to see them keeping pace with the rest of this stacked division. And that's where things really get interesting, because once you look past Tampa Bay, you're staring at four teams that all have legitimate arguments to finish at the top. Toronto, New York, Boston, and Baltimore each bring something different to the table. And depending on how things click, you could realistically shuffle these teams in almost any order and make a convincing case for it. That's what makes predictions so difficult this year, because it's not just about talent on paper, it's about execution, depth, and who can handle the pressure when the games start to matter most. There's a strong case to be made for New York taking control of the division, especially when you look at the firepower in that lineup. It's the kind of offense that can carry a team through rough stretches, and when everything is clicking, it becomes incredibly difficult to contain. Add to that the presence of a proven ace returning to anchor the rotation, and suddenly you're looking at a team that has all the pieces to make a serious run. The only real question mark seems to hover around the bullpen, and whether it can consistently hold leads in high-pressure situations, because over a long season, that can be the difference between winning the division or falling just short. Right behind them, Toronto continues to generate a ton of attention, and for good reason. There's a belief that this team has the potential to take another step forward, especially with a core that's entering its prime. The lineup has power, consistency, and the ability to change a game in a matter of moments. And if everything comes together, they could very well push for the top spot. Even if they don't win the division, they're still seen as a strong playoff team, likely securing one of those coveted wildcard positions and bringing postseason baseball back to their home crowd. Boston is another team that can't be overlooked in this conversation. There's a quiet confidence building around this roster, fueled by a mix of emerging young talent and players ready to prove themselves at a higher level. The pitching staff, in particular, has the potential to be a difference maker, especially if it can stay healthy and consistent throughout the season. If that happens, Boston could easily find itself right in the middle of the playoff race, battling with the top teams in the division and making life difficult for everyone else. Then there's Baltimore, a team that feels like it's right on the edge of something bigger, but still has a few lingering concerns. Offensively, there's a lot to like, especially with key additions that bring more power and presence to the lineup. But when you start looking at the pitching side, particularly the bullpen, questions begin to surface. Over the course of a long season, those late-inning situations can define a team's success, and if Baltimore can't find stability there, it might be the factor that keeps them just outside the playoff picture, even if they remain competitive in standings. What makes this division even more fascinating is how close these teams appear to be when it comes to overall performance. We're not talking about massive gaps in talent or clear favorites running away with it early. Instead, it feels like the kind of race that could come down to the final weeks, maybe even the final series, where every single game carries weight. A couple of wins here, a couple of losses there, and suddenly the entire picture shifts. And that's where the internal matchups become so important. These teams are going to be facing each other constantly, and those head-to-head battles could end up deciding everything. If one team manages to dominate within the division, it could create just enough separation to secure the top spot. But if things stay balanced, we could be looking at a scenario where multiple teams end up with very similar records, all fighting for positioning and playoff seeding. There's also the mental aspect of it all, because playing in such a competitive environment takes a toll over time. Every series feels intense. Every mistake gets magnified, and maintaining consistency becomes a real challenge. The teams that can stay focused, avoid prolonged slumps, and handle adversity are usually the ones that come out on top in situations like this. It's not just about having the best roster, it's about being able to deliver when it matters most over and over again. As the season approaches, the debates are only going to get louder. Fans will back their teams, analysts will break down every detail, and predictions will continue to shift as new information comes in. But one thing is already clear. The American League East is shaping up to be an absolute battle, with multiple contenders, intriguing storylines, and the kind of unpredictability that makes baseball so exciting to follow. As the focus shifts from the overall division picture to individual impact, all eyes naturally land on the biggest names expected to define the season, and one player who continues to sit right at the center of that conversation is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Every year, the expectations surrounding him seem to grow, and this time it feels even more intense, especially after the discussions about his power numbers and how they translate into real production for his team. The question isn't whether he's talented enough, because that's already been established. It's about how consistently he can turn that talent into game-changing moments across an entire season. There's a noticeable split in how people view his upcoming performance, particularly when it comes to home run totals. Some believe he's due for another surge, a return to those dominant stretches where he looks almost unstoppable at the plate, driving the ball with authority to all fields. Others take a more measured approach, suggesting that while the power will still be there, it might not reach those extreme peaks again, at least not consistently over the course of the year. And that's where the conversation becomes so interesting, because it's not just about raw numbers, it's about the evolution of his approach as a hitter. When you watch him closely, you can see the adjustments happening in real time. There are moments when everything clicks, the timing, the swing path, the confidence, and that's when the ball starts jumping off his bat in a way that few players in the league can replicate. But then there are stretches where things look a bit off, where the swing gets a little flatter, the contact turns into hard ground balls instead of towering drives, and suddenly the production doesn't quite match the expectations. Finding that balance, maintaining the right mechanics and approach over a long season, that's the challenge that could define his year. At the same time, there's growing belief that his overall game is becoming more complete. Even in periods where the home run numbers aren't skyrocketing, he still finds ways to contribute, whether it's through consistent contact, driving in runs, or simply putting pressure on opposing pitchers every time he steps into the batter's box. That kind of presence changes the dynamic of an entire lineup, forcing teams to rethink how they approach each at-bat, especially in high-leverage situations. Another factor that keeps coming up is how he performs in the biggest moments. There have already been flashes of what he can do on larger stages, where the intensity is higher and the margin for error is smaller. Those moments tend to stick with fans and analysts alike, shaping expectations for what's to come. If he can carry that same level of production into the regular season and sustain it, then suddenly the conversation shifts from solid numbers to potential award contention, and that's where things really start to elevate. There's also the mental side of it, something that doesn't always show up in the stat sheet, but plays a huge role in a player's performance. Dealing with pressure, handling expectations, and staying locked in over the grind of a full season is no small task. For a player like him, who is constantly under the spotlight, that challenge becomes even greater. But if he can manage that aspect of the game effectively, it could unlock another level of consistency that takes his performance to new heights. And it's not happening in isolation either, because the lineup around him plays a significant role in how everything unfolds. Protection in the batting order, players getting on base ahead of him, others stepping up behind him, it all contributes to the opportunities he gets and how pitchers choose to attack him. When the offense as a whole is functioning well, it creates a ripple effect that can amplify individual performances across the board. As predictions start to take shape, you can feel the mix of optimism and caution. Some see him landing comfortably in the mid-30s when it comes to home runs, a strong number that reflects both power and consistency. Others push that projection higher, believing that if everything aligns, he could once again flirt with the upper tier of sluggers in the league. The range of outcomes is wide, and that uncertainty is part of what makes following his season so compelling. What's undeniable, though, is the impact he's expected to have, whether it's through sheer power, clutch hitting, or his ability to anchor the lineup. He remains one of the most important pieces in his team's pursuit of success. Every swing, every at-bat, every key moment adds another layer to the story that's unfolding. And as the season progresses, those moments begin to define not just his individual performance, but the trajectory of the team as a whole. And as the conversations continue, as new predictions emerge and old ones get challenged, one thing becomes clear. This season is shaping up to be another crucial chapter in his career, one that could reinforce everything people already believe about his potential, or push him even further into that elite category that only a select few ever reach. What adds even more intrigue to his season is the way opposing teams are likely to approach him from day one. There's no surprise factor anymore, no under-the-radar label to hide behind. Every pitcher knows exactly what he's capable of, and that means game plans will be built specifically to neutralize his strengths. Expect fewer mistakes over the heart of the plate, more breaking balls in tough counts, and a constant effort to disrupt his timing. How he adapts to that level of attention is going to say a lot about where he is in his development as an elite hitter. At the same time, there's a growing sense that he's learning how to make those in-game adjustments quicker than before. Instead of letting a rough stretch linger, he's starting to show signs of correcting things within a series, sometimes even within the same game. That ability to adapt on the fly is what separates good players from great ones, especially over the course of a long season where slumps are inevitable. If he continues trending in that direction, those cold streaks might become shorter and less damaging to his overall numbers. Another layer to this is the energy he brings to the field, something that can't always be measured but is impossible to ignore. When he's locked in, it feels like it spreads throughout the entire dugout, lifting teammates and creating momentum that can carry through multiple innings. That presence becomes even more important in tight games, where a single swing or a key at-bat can shift everything. It's not just about individual performance anymore. It's about influence, about being the kind of player others feed off. There's also the durability factor, which quietly plays a massive role in how his season could unfold. Staying healthy, maintaining physical condition, and being available day after day is often overlooked when discussing star players, but it's crucial. The more time he spends in the lineup, the more opportunities he has to impact games and build rhythm at the plate. Consistency in availability often leads to consistency in production, and that's something every team relies on from its cornerstone players. But before we move forward, don't forget to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest news about the Los Angeles Dodgers. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the news, so drop a comment below. A growing wave of speculation is sweeping through Major League Baseball as whispers intensify a potential blockbuster move involving Mike Trout. Widely regarded as one of the defining talents of his generation and a recent World Series champion, Trout is now rumored to be on the verge of a stunning departure from the Los Angeles Angels before the upcoming season even begins. Sources close to the situation suggest that internal tensions, coupled with a growing desire to compete consistently at the highest level, may have accelerated discussions behind closed doors. While no official statement has been made, insiders hint that negotiations reached a decisive turning point, opening the door for an unexpected exit that few saw coming just months ago. The most intriguing element of this unfolding story is the reported destination, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Known for their aggressive pursuit of elite talent and sustained success, the Dodgers have long been linked to marquee names, but landing Trout would represent a seismic shift in the league's balance of power. The possibility of pairing his bat with an already stacked roster has fueled excitement and skepticism throughout the baseball world. Around the league, executives are said to be monitoring the situation closely, unsure whether this is a calculated maneuver or the early stages of a deal already nearing completion. Some believe financial flexibility and championship ambition align perfectly in this scenario, while others question whether such a high-profile move could truly materialize so abruptly. Fans, meanwhile, are left reading between the lines. Social media buzz has only intensified, with speculation ranging from strategic leaks to full-fledged agreement rumors waiting for formal confirmation. For now, everything remains in the realm of conjecture, but the mere possibility of Trout changing uniforms has already sent shockwaves through the sport. If the rumors prove true, this could mark one of the most dramatic preseason developments in recent memory, one that reshapes narratives, rivalries, and expectations across Major League Baseball. That's all for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay up to date with exclusive news about the Los Angeles Dodgers, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We always appreciate your comments and feedback. See you in the next video.